Good day, my friends. Good day. Quack, quack. Quack, quack indeed, my friend. Quack, quack. Everyone is wondering about Shiba, which is not surprising. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about Bitcoin as well. The massive Bitcoin crash that we've had today, as so many people have called it anyway. And then we'll see. We'll see where the stream takes us. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah. Before I start, big shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. Their support has been amazing. They don't ask much. So appreciate them just throwing money at us. And yeah, you should go check them out because they're not only awesome to work with, they're also kind of awesome to use. Best mobile app in the game, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, if you want to check that out, check it out. Links are in the description, and yeah, not much more to say about that. There's a bunch of stuff on there that you can play around with. So yeah, if you don't know about them yet, I mean, don't tell me I haven't told you. Threads JFCing me, of course. Probably like saying Jesus fucking Christ about the chart because holy shit, that is mad. They have to pump crap from time to time or nobody would invest into those coins. I mean, it's just how crypto works. I kind of agree. Then again, like, I mean, a bunch of people got fucked in the Doge trade, right? So people kind of like bought Dogecoin instead of Shiba. And yeah, I mean, Shiba just looks insane. I wouldn't want to short it. I wouldn't want to long it either at this point. But yeah, what do you guys want to start with? Bitcoin, Shiba, like we can do whatever. I'll listen to you guys. Please don't talk about Shiba and creds like XRP. There's actually a bunch to talk about XRP. You can talk about XRP. You've kind of brought this onto yourself. People want to see Bitcoin first. Okay, so we'll do Bitcoin first and then go over Shiba or whatever. So yeah, a bunch of people have been posting about like how like hurt everyone is and how fucked we all are because like Bitcoin moved down 2.5% today. I'm not impressed yet. It's right at support. It's right at daily and weekly support actually. So this is the upper box is daily support, the lower box is the weekly support. If we break that, I can see why people would want to start like being afraid because then like the next weekly support is quite a bit lower, which is like in the low 50s, which kind of coincides with the next daily support in the lower 50s as well. So I don't really see a good reason to panic just yet. I'm not buying into this dip yet because I think there's a bunch of leverage that can still be wiped, and two, we have coins like Shiba pumping, which I think generally speaking is not the best sign for like at least low time frame strength in the market, because what happens is you have like the strong coins lead a rally, and at the end of that usually the shitty coins rally, and they kind of initiate the move down on the stronger coins. Just how like the back and forth in crypto has always worked and will probably always work. So yeah, I have like, that's like my main concern, those two, like funding not being too good for the bulls and then like trash coins pumping. Not the biggest fan. But if that leads us to wipe out, I think like my favorite kind of trajectory for this kind of for like the next few days to like weeks would be something like this. Maybe even undershoot 52 a little, but I think this makes a lot of sense. Kind of put in, like if you look at Bitcoin, what it's done, I think it could very well look like ETH in a couple of weeks. So get like a little bit of a pullback and then you shoot off, right? So yeah, I could see that. That would coincide with like this drawing I've made, which like shows like ETH going down to like 3 point something K. I would like that the most just based on my positioning. Getting to buy 52 a little bit heavier and then selling into like new all-time highs sounds like a good idea to me. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not entirely sure if we're gonna get it because like this is weekly and daily support right now. So if you're like an aggressive bull, you would be buying this already. Like just chart-wise, this is the place to buy. So yeah, that's kind of my view on Bitcoin. If you're like super out there and you're like, oh shit, I have no position, I really want to get into it, this is daily and weekly support, not the worst place. If that fails, I think daily and weekly support at 50 to 52 is the next best place. And I'd be very surprised if we just straight up fell through there. Please no dog coins. I mean, I'll talk about them briefly just based on the fact that they do kind of influence my analysis for the rest of the market, right? Because whenever you have like trash pump, it means that people are like disregarding how like, or like in general, like just moving further out of on the risk curve. And that coupled with the leverage spec that we have talked about like a tiny bit. And if you've read the newsletter a little bit more, that does have me worry a little bit. So yeah, let's check out Shiba for like a second. I promise I won't bore you too much, but there's actually a good lesson to be learned in this chart. Just straight up, right? But you now have, like, ever since Shiba flipped Dogecoin on the market cap basis, you have a bunch of people trying to short this thing. And the reason why I say this is like a shit move is not because I think Shiba is great or anything. I'm pretty sure Shiba is going to dump like very, very hard. But because you don't want to be shorting, like you don't want to be shorting these things. Because you could be shorting here, you could be shorting here, here. And then eventually you hit it, even if you hit it very close to the top, right? This dumped and then went sideways for a while. So you didn't even get like much profit until like it just showed up again. And in this instance, could easily like do this or go even higher, and you start shorting like in here somewhere and you get rolled over, right? In my opinion, the much better short, and I'm gonna show you one that would have failed just because hindsight is always easy to kind of make up stuff. But let's say you have this, it crashes down by quite a significant margin and it starts bouncing. Then you look for weakness and then you try to short like the bounce. And in this case, it went above it, which invalidates you, but you have like, usually what I do with these things, right? You have like a moon, you have a crash, you have like a bounce. You try to short the bounce here with your stop loss above there. But if price goes back above and makes kind of like a higher low, what you try, like you still have your stop loss down there, but what you try to do is just get out and wait till it kind of puts in another one of these, but on a larger time frame. So what this did is like it bounced, you short, it goes higher, you're invalidated, but you're not stopped out. And then you get out somewhere on this drop because realistically, this shouldn't have happened, right? Realistically, when these kind of pop, they usually pop relatively fast. They don't just make another high and then dump. Very, very rarely anyway. But yeah, that's kind of what you look for. And even if you didn't, like even if you didn't take this as an invalidation, you get stopped out and you can try another day. But if you short in this, and what this is like what everyone does basically, is they short this and then it goes up and they short this like relatively tiny and they're like, oh shit, I'm losing more than I thought, but I can make this back by shorting more, and then they short more here. And then they short more here. And there's no invalidation, no nothing. And then they're the ones that put in the top. As in they get liquidated, price pushes up, and everyone's fucked, right? So you don't want to be the guy shorting this. You want to be the guy that is shorting this. Got it? Like even if you get like a worse entry, imagine if you shorted this, And then you have like a random stop loss up there. You get stopped out at the highs. Nothing really, like your thesis hasn't been invalidated because, I mean, this is a bullshit pump, right? But I mean, nothing you can do about it. So that's why, like, I made the post earlier about like not shorting into these things, because right now everyone is trying to time the top, right? Everyone is trying to post that one picture of them nailing it. And it's always so nice, right? When you see like, okay, this guy shorted the Pico top, but what usually happens is they short and short and short again. And then at some point they nail it and it drops like 50%, and then they make like back 50% of their losses or something. Not worth it, in my opinion anyway. Like I said, short the bounce, not the actual high. So hope that helps. That's kind of like how I do these things anyway. You don't actually have to short them either. Like you can just stay away. You're like, okay, shit, I missed this on the upside. I don't have to chase the short on the downside. But I mean, I know people will try anyway. Fib extensions might work. I call bullshit. Like all of this, like you don't do TA on this kind of shit. Like people always try to pull up stuff to kind of make this make sense. But it's like you have a bunch of crypto degens trying to short this. You have no idea how big their positions are, and the moment they get liquidated, they kind of like start a snowball effect, and that's kind of what's happening on, like, you can even see this on the 5 minute, right? Where like this is basically where the entirety of crypto Twitter starts talking about Shiba shorts, and then it squeezes up 15 to 20 to 30%, and it, like this can keep squeezing until like the people that are on the short side are fucked, and you have no idea how long that takes. And it's really, really easy for this to keep squeezing as long as everyone keeps shorting. So like there's no reason to do TA. Like you can do TA, you can do this, and this stuff actually works in the lower time frames, but you don't time the top with TA on these things. Like you can use these like shitty patterns to actually like do short time frame trades, because they usually tend to work as long as they're with the trend in these kind of instances. But you don't like put on like fib extensions or some other random garbage to nail the top. That's not how it works. If anything, what you can nail the top with is like massive liquidations. But then again, like the market's a little bit different from what it used to be. Like there's a bunch of avenues where you can long, short, or whatever trade this thing in general. So it's not as easy anymore. So yeah, that's the Shiba thing. I think you're probably like, if you're starting to long here, you're gonna get fucked. It's just a question of like longer time frame. You can do the slower time frame, bet on squeeze kind of thing. Like this kind of ascending triangle was actually like pretty obvious. As dumb as that sounds from someone that preaches higher time frames and doesn't really talk about like patterns too much, but like that's just how this market works when it goes completely ballistic. You can trade these, right? But if you're entering here to hold this for the long term, you're an idiot, in my opinion. So there you go. That's enough about the Dogecoins. And I mean, Dogcoin, number one, Dogecoin is putting in like a very, very poor showing. Looks complete garbage to me, and probably will for a while. If it does reclaim here, I could see it put in like something like this, like, and that's the same kind of pattern that we've had. Like, look at this. You have the strong move up, you have the lower high-ish here. And I could see the same thing happen with this being the lower high here. If we do reclaim these kind of like 500 sats marks, whatever, I don't think we will, but if we do, I could see that happen, and people would be like, okay, it's a new upswing for the dog coins, and then it just dumps to shit. Be very surprised if this takes all-time high again. So enough about dog coins. Like I said, with Bitcoin right at support, I'm a little bit worried about the leverage though. And then ETH is just gonna follow along Bitcoin. Yeah, there's no big difference there. Makes sense too. Like you just look at this. That's actually right at support as well on the weekly. And this support here. And if it's strong, that's going to hold. If it's weaker, I think could easily go below 3.5. And I think then it's going to get bought up. So same deal there. And ETH BTC is just boring. So we talked about those, talked about Shiba, talked about Doge. What else should we talk about? A bunch of people like trying to shield their coins. I hate when that happens. But I kind of did. I did summon it, so. Cred said last time it was more important to look at token margin, but why? So with token margin, right? When you have USD margin, right? Let's say you have 100K in USDT, right? And you long Bitcoin or whatever. It goes down, you lose whatever, 20-30% of that. You're now like down a little bit on that. That's one thing, right? But let's say you have that 100K in Bitcoin and you start longing Bitcoin. What happens is that, like, let's say Bitcoin's at 50K because that's easier to kind of calculate. So you have 2 BTC and you put that into a long, right? Now Bitcoin drops to like whatever, like drops 20%. You lose those 20%. So you're down 20% on the trade, but you're also down on your collateral, right? Bitcoin is down 20% as well. So you get doubly fucked. And those positions can easily run away from you, right? So the further Bitcoin goes down, the less your Bitcoin is worth. So you get like fucked on the trade and you get fucked on the underlying. And that means that oftentimes like people get, and that can lead to like a death spiral, right? Because you can imagine like if a bunch of people have these kind of positions open, the lower prices go, the less money they have just based on their collateral, and they're losing money on the trade. They have to close it out, and then that kind of snowballs further down the line. That cannot really happen with like your money being in USD. This just adds another layer of leverage, basically. So if you see coin margin longs up a lot, that's just terrifying, because basically that is what took us down here. People were long Bitcoin with Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin dropped, their longs got fucked and their Bitcoin got fucked. And then it just keeps on rolling and rolling and rolling. And then people try to catch those liquidations by longing again with Bitcoin. And then like it just keeps rolling down the hill. And at some point, like we almost went to zero on BitMEX during the March crash. So it's infinitely more risky if there's a lot of coin margin longs. So that's why he said it. I didn't watch the stream, but that's the explanation why it's dangerous. Basically, COVID crash, exactly. That's what I just mentioned. Oh, man. Coin margin OI on Binance is kind of high, is it not? I mean, in general, we have like too much leverage, in my opinion. I don't like it. That's why I'm not buying heavily right now, even though like usually I would if the margin situation would be like looking better. And this is something that you can remember for your trading in general. This is like chart wise, this is the best area to buy. And this could be a moment where people think back, including myself, and be like, holy shit, why did I not buy this? Because like generally speaking, double tops very rare in crypto. This is the best support to buy, blah 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 blah. But there's a few things that make me hesitant, and then we talked about them already. Like I said, leverage and trash pumping and that kind of stuff, which makes me hesitant to buy this and makes me more happy to buy lower, because that washout would kind of take care of that problem, right? If a bunch of people get liquidated into 52 or into low 50s in general, I'm gonna feel much more secure buying. That doesn't guarantee me that it's gonna happen though. It's just, yeah, sometimes it's worth waiting for. Sometimes you bite yourself in the ass that you didn't buy. I don't know which one it's gonna be for this one, but I mean that's just trading for you. It's not as easy as, okay, you have a support, you buy it. You have to make a judgment based on all the evidence that you have. And right now, I want to buy it based on the charts. I don't want to buy it based on like everything around it. So I'm just not gonna buy it and wait for lower. But I can only say that because I'm already in a position from the lower 40s, right? If I didn't have any positions, I wouldn't probably mind buying the support and then just praying to God that I don't get wiped out. So you said there's plenty to talk about XRP. I'm curious. Yeah, I mean, in general, like all the legal problems that we've had in crypto, or in general, like the legal landscape, has kind of resolved positively in the last few weeks to months, right? We've had a bunch of stuff kind of clear up, and I think there's a good likelihood that XRP is going to do the same. That said, chart-wise, just looks like garbage. So I still think the XRP play is a really good one. It's just like whether Bitcoin pumps or dumps here, I think the Bitcoin pairs on like most of these charts, and you can already see this, right? How like much these altcoin pairs are down. Most are down like from 5 to 10%, while Bitcoin is down 3%. So like whether Bitcoin pumps or dumps, I think the Bitcoin pairs are gonna take a shit. But once that's through, right? Once Bitcoin is like at 70K or down at 50, I'm gonna be looking into these coins again, and XRP being one of them, just based on the fact that I think it could get tailwind off of like a good kind of outcome to the whole legal battle saga. Not a biggest fan of XRP in general, and not a big fan of this chart right now. I'm very glad I sold into the high 2000s. So yeah, I mean, I sold it into the USD pair. I'm one of the USD traders now, which sad end to saga, but I mean the liquidity is just much better. But yeah, like relatively wise, I sold into that move, and yeah, I think like if this drops lower, chart wise looks really shit. But if it presents any kind of good setup, like let's say this drops down here, bounces strongly and finds support at like 1.5k, I'm willing to take a gamble again. Last time we did, it pumped pretty nicely, pretty much immediately too, and willing to take that trade again. But I need some good reason to do so. Not only fundamental wise, which is hilarious to say about XRP, because I mean fundamentally wise it sucks in my opinion anyway, but it doesn't really matter in crypto, right? You get a tailwind from anything, you buy it. It's just how this stuff works. Do you still recommend against buying altcoins right now? I mean, you saw what happened today, right? This is my entire argument, like, and has been for a while. Look at ADA. ADA is down what, like 50% on the Bitcoin pair. You don't really, like, people don't realize how much money they leave on the table. Like, if you bought ADA at the high, even against USD, you're down 40%, right? And you gotta be careful when and when not to buy altcoins. Obviously, depends on which ones you're trading. If you're in Shiba, you're gonna be laughing at me right now. People don't really realize that outliers are outliers, right? When I'm talking about altcoins as a whole, I'm not talking about the 1 or 2 or 3 altcoins that are doing well, because there's only gonna be a handful of people in those, right? I'm talking about everything. And for me, like, you look at this chart, you don't even need any lines. You look at this chart, you know that it's gonna either completely disappear I mean, this would be hilarious, not gonna lie. It's either gonna be completely shit, or it's gonna be complete and utter madness to the upside, right? Towards like 70K. The second kind of version seeming more probable to me. I could see it distribute in the 70K range, right? That'd be quite crypto when you just like, everyone's like, okay, this is a new all-time high, and it finally cleared the highs and it starts going sideways and then dumps. I wouldn't be like surprised by that. But in general, right, it looks like it wants to go higher or lower, but both in an explosive fashion. And most of the time in crypto, when Bitcoin does that, when it goes completely ballistic, altcoins either go sideways against Bitcoin, which is like the best case for them. And then you're like, what? Okay, you didn't really beat Bitcoin. So, I mean, you got lucky that your altcoin performed strongly. Or they go and dump completely against Bitcoin. And when the choices are that limited, besides like the occasional outlier that is going to outperform Bitcoin, I mean, I'm not going to be telling people to all in altcoins. If we go back and pump towards like 70K and go sideways there, I think there's going to be a good altcoin window. Maybe even starting like into like the higher breakout area, where you can start allocating pretty nicely. Because I mean, if we get an old season at all-time high, whatever, that'd be just like pretty nice, neat fractal that we've had before. But yeah, I'm not gonna be the advocate into like buying altcoins at like near all-time high prices for Bitcoin. Just doesn't make much sense for me. Like the moment people realize, oh shit, Bitcoin is pushing all-time highs and I don't have any Bitcoin because I went and all in like some random shitcoin, is usually the times where shitcoins do really, really poorly actually. Like if you haven't sat through this, and I mean, I know a bunch of you have during 17, where it's like you have altcoins down here and you have Bitcoin and it like everything goes up and you're like super happy and you're like, I want to make more money even though I'm making already like quite a bit. And then you get into the altcoins and then suddenly Bitcoin starts running and your altcoin doesn't do shit. And you're sitting there being like, oh fuck. If you have sat through this once, you know exactly like how it feels and why you shouldn't be like too deep in the altcoin world while Bitcoin is like gearing up for a run. I mean, if you haven't sat through it and you're like, okay, but I want to keep my altcoins, be my guest, there's going to be a few altcoins that are going to outperform. It's just most of the time you're going to get fucked. And then it gets really hard to hold on. And the moment you start panicking, whether like you actually bought some dog coin that has no actual use case or like in general no value, and you start selling, that's when they usually pump it. Don, did you just nail the shipped up? I mean, shipped up is gonna be very, very close. It's gonna be like today, tomorrow, or like in general this week. But I still tell you, don't be a fucking idiot and try to be the hero, in my opinion anyway. And I made my ship thread down here, and it's up what? It's hilarious how you can see like 10% movements on like the fucking 5-minute chart. It's up 16%, right? It's obviously gonna top very, very soon time-wise. It's just a question of how far in price is that gonna be. $10 down candle in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, it moves up fast, it moves down fast. But then again, like I said, I mean, you can try to chase it, you can do whatever. And if you nail it, people are gonna hail you as hero. But most of you that try to time it are gonna get fucked. It's always hilarious. I mean, crypto is just hilarious in general. I mean, if you're not having fun in this market, I don't know what to tell you. Don't draw a straight line down. This would be hilarious, not gonna lie. I mean, how fucking hilarious would that be though? Like head and shoulders off of head and shoulders. Like we've had one here, right? So getting a weekly one would be funny. Coinbase down? Okay. No wonder Shiba is dumping then. But Don, do we need another up in USD season? We don't need to. Like, that's the thing. Like, people try to force this market into like what they've seen before. And that works to an extent, but you can't be too rigorous, right? So this kind of setup almost always works, right? This is something that is just happens always, like almost always in crypto, but it's not the only tops that you can get. And I saw a bunch of people in here saying this cannot be not even a short-term top because this is not how Bitcoin tops. And then it dumped like 50%, right? So the market changes and it's not always going to behave the same way. But like the general relationship between Bitcoin and altcoins, that does usually repeat. So like what I'm talking about is like Bitcoin going up, altcoins suffering a little bit, and then Bitcoin topping and altcoins going off. That kind of thing usually does happen. But you can't be like, okay, back in 2017, Bitcoin went up and altcoins went up in USD. And then they like tried to pull along but couldn't. And then they started dumping even against USD, even before Bitcoin had topped. And then at some point, like when people capitulated, it moved over. Like it's not ever going to just copy paste 1-to-1, but it's going to be close enough. So if you're like, I want to see this and this exact thing happen before I'm convinced the top's in, you're probably not going to catch it. But like I said, I mean, you don't have to catch the tops in general. Like, for example, for me, if you look at the daily chart, like the times where I got really aggressively bearish were in here, right? I mean, I was pretty bearish in here because there was like a good reason to be so with like the coin launch and stuff. But like the times where I like got aggressively bearish was in here. And it's the same reason, right? You put in the top, you crash down, and then you make a lower high. And then the same thing happened on the higher time frames. I was like pretty bearish in here. And then I just saw that there was some strength here and it just didn't want to break down. And that's when I was like, okay, it's probably not going to be this thing. And I mean, that served me well. So you got to adapt to whatever happens, right? Because even if you have the most pretty top setup, if something changes, if some big guy decides to buy crypto, it's going to be ruined for you. That's how small the market is. Don, what about Litecoin and DOT? I mean, Litecoin is just garbage. Like, look at this chart, and not much to say about it. And I mean, the thing is, like I've said, Litecoin is garbage chart-wise for the last year to, I don't even remember. Like, it's been a couple of years. And at some point, I'm going to be wrong on that, probably. Because what these kind of things tend to do is put in something like this. But for me, it's just like, you don't want to be speculating. Like when a market moves like this, right? In general, if you were all smart, you wouldn't want to be speculating on something like this because the trajectory of this thing is clear, right? Litecoin against Bitcoin is clearly heading down. It's one of the best trends that you can have. But we as like degens, idiotic traders try to catch like these moves in between, right? And then do this over and over again. Like, I mean, you could copy paste this on the chart and it would look exactly like this along those lines, right? Basically doing this over and over and over again, right? And we try to catch these movements, but like in a downwards trending market, what you do best or what you should be doing is just not be in it, right? There's better things to spend your time on. Like if you look at ETH, for example, that has actually been uptrending. And that's been the much better trade. Like you can clearly see this is going like this. And then the Litecoin thing was like this. So what you want to be focusing on, much rather than like the trash coins that dumped a shitload. So you're like, oh, they have to mean revert a bunch. It's actually stronger ones. And ETH is one of them. And then like there's a bunch of this kind of stuff where people try to, for example, Zcash. This is like one that's been this has been downtrending forever. You can draw a straight line through this. And people have been trying again to buy the bottom of it. Just so they can kind of like claim fame by having caught one of these before it actually heads back down again. And that's not what you should be doing. You should be focused on something like this. Bitcoin, basically my advice for any kind of trading activities that you do, no matter in which market, is you want to find a chart that does this, that goes up and to the right, and you want to long that. Or want to buy, like you don't have to long, you just want to be buying this stuff. And you stay away from any chart that does like this. Because if it goes down and to the right, it's probably going to keep on going down and to the right. And if it goes up and to the right, it's probably going to keep going up and to the right. And if you followed that simple advice, you would have made it in crypto like a million times over. If you just stayed around long enough. And I've seen too many people that haven't made it because they've just been stubborn about like longing Zcash or longing some trash because they're like, okay, this is down 99%. I'm going to catch like the bounce up from the bottom. And I mean, that's fair and good, right? And if you nail it, you're going to be the hero for the day. It's just trading wise, that's infinitely more difficult than just saying, okay, I'm going to buy this thing because it goes up and to the right. Hey, Dawn, can you look at Rune? Nah, thanks. Mind unpacking your rationale of the Bitcoin dominance theory? Is there a limited amount of money so people chase Bitcoin, then rotate to altcoins? It's a mix of things, right? So in general, what you need to know is that in crypto, right, retail kind of buys the top always, and Bitcoin doesn't excite retail. It's just how it is, right? So what happens is Bitcoin goes up. Crypto's in the stealth phase, doesn't do much, right? Bitcoin goes up, and then suddenly like crypto gets like into the news and stuff, and then retail is like, holy shit, Bitcoin's up like 5x since I last heard of it. What else is out there, right? And Bitcoin is already running it up. Like Bitcoin has like pulled in like a 5x. The altcoins have done like a 5x on their USD pairs or whatever. So retail comes in and buys the shit out of Dogecoin or Shiba or whatever, like all of the garbage shit. Because they're like, I want to be the guy that buys the next Bitcoin. I want to be the guy that buys Bitcoin at $1 and sells it at 60K, right? So they buy the trash coins while the market is already overheated and basically cannot really go much further. And I mean, retail just pumps it for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 months. While like the smarter people in the space just start taking profit. And then the moment Bitcoin actually curls back down, and like the altcoins have been running meanwhile, then it becomes okay, the smart people are already taking profit. Now the traders start realizing that, wait, maybe we are actually putting in a top. They start like trading it down as well, start selling, start shorting, whatever. It accelerates to the downside. And then suddenly you have like retail that bought in a shitload of these like altcoins. They're not getting any new money at the back, right? So like while this was happening, while this was going on, like while it was going up, you have a bunch of new people streaming in day after day after day. But the moment it actually turns to the downside, like the news cycle stops, people are like, oh shit, I actually just bought like 100K of a fucking dog coin that's worth nothing. What the fuck am I doing? And then they, like the smart people in retail, maybe even the earlier ones, are like, oh shit, I'm actually up still like 2x, 3x, 4x, start pulling out, and then it just fucking crashes. Bounces a little bit because there's always a bunch of idiots that are trying to buy the dip to take Dogecoin to like $100 a piece. And then you get the second leg. And that's kind of how these bubbles deflate, right? So the bubble builds in a stealth phase, smarter people buy in, and then at some point it can go no further. And you have a bunch of basically excess luggage, which is retail, that just buys the biggest garbage and they get wiped out. And then crypto goes sideways for a while, a bunch of smarter people buy back, or like buy in general, buy up the entire supply. Bitcoin goes on another run, the same game continues. It's always like that. Like it's always been like that. I don't really think it will change too much. It's changed a little bit ever since Bitcoin pairs have fallen out of favor, but it's still largely the same. So there you go. Like that's like there's more to it, obviously, but that's the simplest explanation to it. Yeah, I hope that helps. Okay. I had my best trade last night, sir. 1 inch, good shit, man, good shit. Yeah, 1 inch got added to like the Korean exchanges, right? Oh man, I've had such a good day today. Thanks, Don. No woman deserves you, even the girl in Dubai. Oh, you're too cute, man. You're too cute. Appreciate the compliment. But that sounds bad for me. If no woman deserves me, I mean, I'm gonna be forever alone. Sounds pretty shit. Hey Don, what would you recommend me? I'm in a long on ETH at 4 times leverage at 4,024. If Bitcoin closes below 58k, I'm planning to sell. I mean, if that's your plan, just follow your plan. Like, if you have a trade going, the worst thing that you can do, like, let's say you have like, we can talk on the short and on the long side. Let's say you have this short going, right? And you ask people what to do, like you short this, and you have no idea whether this is gonna happen or whether it's gonna invalidate you. And then you ask people, okay, what do you think I should do? And then they tell you, I think you should close your short because this looks bullish. You close your short, it starts going down. And you're like, fuck, should have listened to myself. You reshort, it bounces, and you're like, fuck, the guy was actually right. And you close it out again, and it goes back down. You're like, shit, and you short again. Like, that's the worst kind of thing to be stuck in, right? You have your plan, you make your plan, you have it, you execute it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. And if you're right, you're right. Don't ever listen to anyone else while you're in a trade, unless they have like a really, really good reason. But in general, like you got to learn from your own mistakes too, right? Like let's say you make a stupid mistake, and then you kind of rely on others to get you out of it. I mean, you're never gonna learn. It's just trading is a very, very lonesome game. You know, you don't have many friends when you're trading because this is like PvP, right? You're fighting everyone else in the market. And you can have like a bunch of real life friends or like in general, like friends that you've met in crypto that can kind of like help you out in the sense that you start talking before the trade or whatever. But while you're in a trade, no one's your friend, right? You just trade for yourself and you try to make the best out of it. And if you cannot do that, it's just not for you, in my opinion anyway. That's honestly some of the most genius advice I've ever heard. Now I wish I could remember what kind of advice I gave. The one that like you should take care of your own shit. I mean, that's just in general how life works, right? I mean, you can ask for help, obviously, but should try to figure out stuff on your own. Like sometimes it's you can ask for help, but most of the time you just should do your own thing. Do you take into account what the current on-chain metrics are even while day trading? I don't give a shit about the on-chain metrics. The stuff that you should be caring about, and this is like at least something that the on-chain guys have been doing a little bit more, is the leverage side of things, right? The on-chain guys just got a lot of shit for like basically spouting whatever the fuck they wanted with the on-chain data. And then they added leverage data, which is like pretty objective. And ever since then, they've become like somewhat decent to follow in that regard. But I would disregard most of the on-chain advice. Like if you see people talk about like leverage data, about in general like flow, all that kind of garbage that you sadly need to know nowadays. That's actually stuff you should kind of pick up on. The on-chain data, like on-chain support, and that complete, for me, bullshit anyway. It's not something I would listen to. So yeah. Okay. Can you do a video on correlation between OI and funding rates and the charts? I want to understand what's going on. I mean, you're going to have to look into that yourself. I think probably no one was going to do that for you because it's the most legitimate alpha that you can get. And I mean, barely anyone wants to share it. And it's something you have to interpret yourself. Because what you do is like you have your charting here and then you have your data here. And you kind of have to make them meet, and then to take a trade. And yeah, I mean, I might think about doing something like that in the future, but I'm not really the teaching type of guy. I could talk with Fred about it. He's really like he's much better at it than I am, but I'm not sure if he wants to like talk about it either. Trading. Like, you can point people in the right direction, but you don't want to, like, just give away everything. Cred just did one. Look at his Twitter. Yeah, Cred always is too kind. Ruins it for everyone else. Hi, Don. Would you take some time and talk about Ponzinomics? Hard for new traders to grasp the concept. I mean, in general, like, what happens is basically you have some trash. You have the old coins that are established, right? They're big and they're hard to move. So what happens is like you get new coins that are easier to move and they're more exciting and then they go up and down more. And if you time it right and if you get people hyped enough about it, they're going to kind of believe anything you tell them, right? For example, Shiba or Dogecoin. Dogecoin, like even fucking Elon Musk believed in Dogecoin being the next best thing, right? And that's just, I mean, maybe he's not as dumb as he kind of makes himself out to be, and he's one of the people pushing the entire thing. Not entirely sure. I do think he held a shitload of Doge at the bottom, actually. Pretty sure I saw some of his buys. But nevertheless, so yeah, you just pump it up, and then, I mean, it's how crypto works, right? You pump it up, and then it just gets a life on its own. And then if you time it right, you can keep these kind of things going. There's like a pretty good article about how to do it on, I think it's Medium, about Dogecoin and how that has been done in the past. And what was his name again? I'm always bad with names, but like people in chat are 100% gonna remember because he's like a famous guy in crypto, or used to be anyway. How like the pumping and dumping was done and stuff. It's pretty damn simple if you have the money for it. So there's not, but like, I mean, that's just how crypto works, right? People are legitimately pumping, dumping left and right. The guy who passed away, McAfee, nah, people, that's like before those. It was Dogecoin and it was, I forgot his name. I'll think if after the stream I'm gonna think about it and I'll remember, and then if you remind me about it next stream. Wololo pump and dumps, yeah, Wulong, exactly. So if you Google that Wulong and Doge, you're gonna find the article, I think, and then you can read into it. God PDF, exactly. Wulong with Dogecoin. And yeah, that's how this shit works, right? People pump and dump it all the time. One of the main reasons why I've stayed away from like talking about altcoins too much is just because I want to avoid any of that sort of things. Like I don't want to buy an altcoin and then start chilling it. It's just like I can trade on my own. I don't need my followers to buy into stuff after me to make money. But I mean, you could easily make it, and some people do make it that way. Volo, yeah. I mean, Vololo is basically fucking Age of Empires. Good times, good times. But yeah, Wolong and his infamous Dogecoin story. You go and find it. I'm pretty sure it's easily Googleable. Actually, let me see if I can find it, and then I can link it. Is this it already? I think this is it. I can link it. There you go. I'm pretty sure this is it, but don't quote me on it. And I haven't had time to look into it fully. But I think that was it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Bitcoin's bouncing nicely. I'd be kind of content with if it bounced here, but like then again, like it's always this weird thing when you already have a position in crypto and you want more of it, but you don't want to lose money. It's like I'm fine with it going up, but I'm also mind either one. Obviously, like if it goes down first, gonna get a bigger position and then get doubly wrecked if I'm wrong. So yeah, that's kind of my view. I think in general, like if you're shorting into 58k, you're doing yourself a disservice because it's a weekly and daily support. This kind of confluence you rarely get. Same with ETH. If you're shorting right now, you're shorting weekly support. If anything, you want to fish for longs into the 50ks, and that's that. With regards to altcoins, if Bitcoin calms down, you can play in them again. I think there's going to be an explosive time again in those. It's just a question of how low do they go before. And for me, that's not worth the risk. Oh, did my stream just die? Let me see. Drop frames 0.3%. Oh shit, we actually did die for a second. Okay, good shit. Was at the end of the stream anyway. I'm not gonna go much further. But yeah, I don't know what you guys have missed. Like there was a few seconds where I was gone apparently. But yeah, either you get in lucky longs at 50k or you get in up here and then you pray to God and it goes up. And I start taking off into like the 70, 75k area. And I know like a bunch of people are gonna be saying, wait, dude, why? It's gonna go to 100k. But that's not kind of what I'm here for. I'm here for like catching the in-betweens, right? I don't need to catch the move to like 200k straight up, because like the thing is, like let's say this goes and moons to 200k, it's gonna pull back again and I'm gonna get to buy again. And even if that's higher than I sold, I don't mind, because then I have like a proper setup that I can play further up. But if you're just a holder in general, not a trader, I mean, best advice I can give you is just like keep doing what you've been doing, which is holding. It's just not me. People want to see FTT. Why do you want to see FTT so much? It's the same, like this is how altcoins in general look right now. You have like something like this happen, where it breaks support, makes me not too excited. Like at the moment it starts trading back above this, it's basically starts looking good again. And on the USD pair, obviously looks better, right? But even here, like that's not best look. This is the kind of resistance, acted as support in here, broke down, starts breaking down again. Now if we start closing back higher, starts looking okay again. But I mean, like I said, I don't think the altcoins are gonna do too well if Bitcoin goes ballistic. And so that's kind of like my view. Like the reason why I don't talk about too many altcoins, and I could go down the list, and we've done this before, right? Is because I think Bitcoin is gonna pull the rug on most of them. And if I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that. I don't have any shorts going on the Bitcoin pairs. but I don't have big positions open either. I have Bitcoin, I have ETH, and that's basically it. Besides that, there's like a bunch of smaller positions that are not worth talking about. Why sell at 70k? I'm not gonna sell 70, but if it goes to like 75, I'm gonna, because then like I could see, and this is something I could see for ETH as well. Let me actually get a clean chart for ETH. Like market caps are getting very, very, very high, in my opinion, for crypto, right? I mean, crypto hasn't really done anything like meaningful in the world so far anyway, in my opinion. So when market caps get astronomically, like it's Shiba is like bigger than Deutsche Bank right now, like as far as like I've just read like a Twitter tweet, but like in general, like the market caps, like I haven't actually verified that, so I shouldn't be saying it, but like in general, like the market caps are getting stupidly high, right? And for very, very little reason, and stuff like that can keep on going, but I'm not gonna be the guy that's just chasing stuff up when it gets like stupidly high. So I don't mind like taking in, like going in and out, because at the end of the day, like if I'm capturing like let's say a coin does, or like anything does like this, right? And it goes from here to here, and then it goes down again. If I catch like these in between moves, right, from here to like up here, from here to like up here or whatever, even if I don't catch the entire move, I don't mind too much, right? Because what I want to be dodging is this. And for me, like I don't want to be holding stuff that gets like stupidly overvalued in market caps. Now, obviously, this world is a crazy one right now, and stuff can just keep on going. But I'm happy with taking the in-betweens. So I could see ETH do the same thing here, where it goes up, goes sideways, spikes up, and then actually drops back down again. And then I think we could see like an ETH bear market. And I could see Bitcoin do the same, where it pulls back like significantly. And then maybe like at that point, like maybe it finds like support way lower and then starts trending up again. And that's fine by me. But like in general, if you're discounting that possibility, I think you're gonna get wrecked. Because so far anyway, every kind of crypto cycle has had its drawdowns afterwards. And I think this one has gone on for quite a while already. Like with Bitcoin, you went from 3K to 60. And if you're like trying to aim for 120, I mean, that's fine by me. That's another 2x at the end of the day. But that 2x is quite risky. So I'm willing to take it to like 70, 75 if I get like bullish signs to 80. And then I get out and people are going to make fun of me while it goes to 100K. And I'm totally fine with that. So yeah, that's kind of my view on markets. In general, like I'm trading this stuff. I'm not the biggest kind of fanatic about it. I have no problem talking about the ups and downsides of crypto. And there's plenty downsides that keep on getting ignored, in my opinion. So there you go. That's my view. I hope that helps. Didn't want to leave on a cautious note because I'm still bullish. But you do have to keep in mind that this market is built on hype, and the moment the hype stops, the moment the music goes, this shit goes down 80%. And I have no idea whether that's gonna be at 100K or 200K. But even if it goes to 200K, I could easily see an 80% drawdown, which would take it like to 30K or whatever, 40K. So I mean, don't get like too like easy going in what you're doing, in my opinion anyway. But right now, looking good to me anyway. Hope that helps. Big shout out to FTX, which is the sponsor of the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. They have like a really, really good mobile app, and they do a bunch of stuff like lending and like everything that you would want to have. So check them out. And yeah, appreciate you guys for hanging with me on like a Wednesday evening or like Wednesday morning if you're like far into the US. And yeah, we'll see each other on maybe Friday, if not Monday again. See ya. Bye bye.